Welcome back. This is video 5 in our mini series for 20 bar exam time management tips. And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 general time management tips. So the first tip that I have for you is honestly probably the best one. And I feel like it's very easily overlooked, but if you think about it and you try to implement it, you might really find a lot of time savings here. So the tip is that you should try to identify and then eliminate any regular distractions. So for instance, if you find that your phone or some form of technology that's around you constantly is very distracting, which I know for most people it's likely their phone, make sure you're taking steps to turn off notifications, turn your ringer off, or just put it away in a place that you won't be easily distracted by it during those times that are supposed to be dedicated to bar prep. So for instance, I worked with someone that found their phone just so distracting. They constantly wanted to be on social media or checking work email or their private email or just text messages and the like. So what they did, once they realized how much time they were actually wasting on their phone and how hard it was for them to kind of redirect their attention back to bar prep once they realized they were distracted, they decided to eliminate the distraction altogether. And they would leave their phone in their car wherever they went to study. So if they were going to a cafe or to the library, they would put their phone in their car. And after they were in there and got accomplished some chunk of work they needed to get done, they would allow themselves to go check their phone and of course check in and make sure that everything was all right. And then when it got time to get back to work, they'd put the phone back away. So you might not have to go to that extreme, but you should take time to identify what's distracting you and then try to eliminate those distractions, at least during those dedicated bar prep windows of time. This will help you make sure that the time you have set aside to work is for work, and you'll see how much more you can get done. Our second tip is study when you study best. Not everyone has this luxury. For instance, if you find that you're parenting children and you're working and you're prepping for the bar simultaneously, this might not be something you can do all of the time or daily, but maybe you can do it weekly depending upon your obligations and your study schedule or other schedule. But if you find that bar prep is really your main obligation, this really can work for you. So if you find that in the morning you are more laser focused and you can get things done more quickly, where in the evening you start to kind of get distracted, then we recommend you tailor your schedule accordingly. So if memorization is tough for you, memorize in the morning when you're more effective, rather than trying to do it in the evening when you're distracted and tired. If essay writing is hard for you, get essays done in the morning. So again, by using your time in a way that works best for you, you'll find that you actually work more effectively. Our next tip is spend some time at the end of each week to reflect upon what worked and what didn't. And you don't have to dedicate like an hour or like some absurd amount of time to this process. Instead, dedicate just a few minutes. Think back upon your calendar if you maybe took notes about what you did throughout the week or you tracked your progress in some way. And think about, what worked and what didn't. Did you find it really helpful to do untimed practice and you saw your MBE score climb in certain areas? Did you find it really helpful to self-grade and you hadn't been self-grading essays before? Did you speed up your BART exam lectures and you found that you had more time to practice and you got more done? Thinking about these things will actually save you time in the weeks to come because you can eliminate what didn't work and continue to implement what did work. So while it takes a little bit of time on the front end, and honestly you should do this weekly to just evaluate what worked and what didn't, you're going to be saving a lot of time in the long run rather than just going through the motions and doing something that isn't working for you. This goes hand in hand with our next tip to get your study plan together ahead of time. I'm a huge fan of this. Honestly, I do this in my daily life and I'm not prepping for the bar exam anymore. But spend a little bit of time at the end of your week to get your game plan together for the next week. So for instance, consider where you're going to study. Do you have a plan for that? Do you know what you're going to study when and therefore what resources and materials you need to get your work done at that time? Have you planned snacks and meals out if you're going to be leaving your home to study? Getting all of these types of things together ahead of time will save you time. Instead of scrambling on Monday morning trying to figure out if you're going to leave the house or stay home, And if you leave, what do you need? And if you leave, do you have to go and stop and get food? All of this eats into your actual study time. So again, by planning a little bit ahead of time, you're going to be saving so much time to do whatever you want or to dedicate more time to studying. And our final general tip for you is to invest in what you need. So time is your most valuable asset during bar prep. And if you've listened to this whole mini series, you probably agree because you're looking for time management tips. So if you have to take time off work because you just don't have enough time to study properly when you're juggling everything, consider talking to your boss. See if you can have a more flexible work schedule to get more study time in. You know, if your family requires you to be at family obligations frequently, maybe have a conversation with them that you need a little bit of breathing space and more free time to get more studying done. Maybe remind these people in your life that having to prep for the bar exam again in the future if you're not successful is going to take more time away from these things. You're going to be less valuable at work, arguably, if they want you to get licensed and you're not. Most good employers realize this and they're willing to invest in you and be as flexible as possible so that you don't have to take the bar exam another time. Similarly, I think if you level with family and friends and about their expectations, they're likely going to understand. But this also means that you're investing in any sort of supplement or resource that you think you need. And I know that for most people, they're on a bar prep budget and they don't have a lot of extra money to spend. But think about it. If there's something that you need, even if it costs you some money out of pocket, it might save you more money in the long run from having to prep again. And all of that money with application fees and travel and lodging as it relates to bar prep. And all of those costs that get rolled up into bar prepping a second time or a multiple time in the future. So for instance, if you want one sheets because you think you'll be more effective by tailoring your studying to those highly tested subjects and topics within each subject, consider purchasing them. If you're really struggling with some comprehension, consider hiring a bar tutor. So again, while they're expensive, they might be able to correct some of these issues you're having or help you out and shed light on these areas in which you're struggling, which will save you time in the long run by likely not having to prep for the bar again in the future. So that wraps up our general time management tips.